You know, I see him all the time, leaders. They got the title, they got the corner office, they got a team underneath them. But they're constantly frustrated. Why am my team performing? Why is there no sense of urgency? Why am I the only one who cares? No, let me tell you something right now. You can have all the degrees, all the strategies, all the motivational posters on the wall you want. But if you ain't mastered the one thing that truly matters, you will never be a real leader. And that one thing is the courage to have a brutally honest, no excuses, gut check conversation with the one person who holds all the power and all the blame. The person staring back at you from the glass every single morning. Leadership doesn't start in the boardroom. It doesn't start with your team. True, undeniable, powerful leadership starts in the mirror. You see, this is the fundamental error, the primary categorical mistake that so many aspiring leaders make. They conceptualize leadership as something that is primarily outward facing, something you do to other people or for other people. They believe it's about having a vision and then compelling everyone else to see it and follow it. And that's not untrue, but it's putting the cart miles before the horse. Because you cannot grant a vision to others that you yourself do not already possess in a deeply integrated, embodied way. The first person you must lead is yourself. And the mirror is the ultimate accountability partner in that endeavor. It is, in a very real sense, your first and most important team member. It's the board member who never misses a meeting, the stakeholder who cannot be lied to, and the most trusted advisor you will ever have, precisely because it reflects back the unvarnished truth. Before you ever utter a word of direction to another person, you have a responsibility to confront the individual in your reflection. You must ask that person, are you truly committed to the goal you are about to set? Are you willing to do the difficult, tedious, and painful things you are about to ask of others? Do you embody the standards of excellence, discipline, and integrity that you wish to see in your team? This isn't about narcissism, it's about the opposite. It's about rigorous, clear-eyed self-assessment. It is the foundational act of integrity, which means to integrate, to make your actions, your words, and your deepest values align into a coherent whole. If there is a fissure in that foundation within you, that crack will propagate through your entire organization. The cynicism, the lack of trust, the quiet resignation you sometimes sense in a team. Often, that isn't a reflection of them. It is a reflection of you, of the division they perceive between what you say and who you are. So you look in that mirror to become solid, to become whole, to become trustworthy, most of all to yourself. And this brings us to the next inevitable consequence of failing to look in the mirror properly, the desperate, corrosive need to assign blame anywhere else but where it so often belongs. It is a fundamental rule of the universe that it is far easier in the immediate moment to point a finger outward than it is to turn one inward. When a project fails, when morale sags, when the quarterly numbers are a disaster, the gravitational pull of our psyche is toward the external. It was the market's volatility, it was the incompetence of a subordinate, it was a lack of resources. And perhaps there is some truth in those claims. The world is a complicated place. But here is the terrifying and ultimately liberating truth even within those external constraints, your specific position. Right here, right now, is the sum total of an almost infinite series of choices you have made, to speak up or to remain silent, to prepare rigorously or to wing it, to hold the line on standards or to let something slide for the sake of convenience, to confront the difficult employee or to avoid the conflict. Every time you choose to blame an external factor, you are engaging in a subtle but catastrophic act of self-sabotage. You are voluntarily relinquishing your agency, your power to change the situation. You are making yourself a passive object acted upon by the world, rather than an active subject who can strive to change it. The mirror is the antidote to this. It forces you to ask the far more difficult, but infinitely more productive questions. What was my part in this? What could I have done differently? What decision did I make, or what truth did I avoid that helped bring this undesirable outcome to fruition? This isn't about self-flagellation, it's about reclaiming sovereignty over your own existence. It is the ultimate act of empowerment, because if the problem is even in part a consequence of your choices, then the solution is also, at least in part, within your grasp to implement. It moves you from being a victim of circumstance to being the architect of your future. Now, if you can manage that difficult task, if you can stand in front of the mirror and truly hold yourself accountable, you begin to unlock something far more valuable than mere fault finding. You begin the journey toward genuine self-awareness, and this is not some soft therapeutic concept. This is perhaps the most potent strategic advantage any leader can possibly cultivate. You see, the world is in a constant state of flux. Markets shift, technology disrupt, competitors emerge. The only way to navigate that chaos is not with a perfect, rigid plan, because no plan survives first contact with reality, but with a mind that is sufficiently aware of its own capacities and, more importantly, its profound limitations. You have to know what you don't know. You have to be able to see the blind spots in your own perception, the biases in your own judgment, the emotional triggers that cloud your reasoning. A leader who lacks this self-awareness is like a captain trying to navigate a treacherous reef with an inaccurate map. They will blame the sea for their shipwreck. But the map is not the territory. Your perception of yourself is not your actual self. The mirror is the tool that helps you redraw that internal map to more closely match reality. It forces you to confront the gap between your intentions and your actions, between your stated values and your instantiated habits. This is brutally difficult work because it necessitates a confrontation with your own shadow, with those parts of yourself you'd rather not see. But in doing so, you become exponentially more adaptable. You can anticipate your own failures. You can compensate for your weaknesses by building a team that complements you, rather than one that merely echoes your deficiencies. You stop making the same category of error over and over again because you have come to understand the instrument through which all your decisions are filtered you. And what is the primary mechanism by which that lack of self-awareness perpetuates itself? It is the internal narrative, the silent running commentary you have with yourself every waking moment. This is where the mirror work moves from the philosophical to the profoundly practical. Because before you ever speak to your team, you are constantly speaking to yourself. And that internal dialogue, that story you tell yourself about who you are and what you are capable of, is not merely a reflection of your reality. It is, in a very real sense, the author of it. Your internal state dictates your perception, and your perception dictates your action. If you look in the mirror and your internal monologue is one of self-doubt, resentment, or cynicism, if you are constantly telling yourself that you are imposterous, that the task is impossible, that you are not enough, then that is the foundational reality from which you will operate. You will inevitably manifest that reality in your leadership. Your hesitation, your lack of conviction, your defensive posture will bleed into every interaction and every decision. The opposite is also true. If you can discipline that internal voice, if you can use the mirror not as a place of criticism, but as a place of conscious, deliberate restructuring of your fundamental beliefs, you can change your entire mode of being in the world. This is not about affirmations. It's about the rigorous, truthful confrontation of the lies you tell yourself. It's about identifying the catastrophic, self-sabotaging fantasies you entertain and consciously replacing them with a narrative grounded in truth, responsibility, and capability. You look in that mirror and you say, this is difficult, but I am competent to manage difficulty. I am afraid, but I can act with courage despite that fear. I made a mistake, but I am capable of learning and adapting. You are, in a sense, psychologically rehearsing the person you need to become in order to meet the challenges of the day. You are authoring the character who can handle the burdens of leadership. This internal narrative, this persona you are consciously authoring, does not exist in a vacuum. It manifests as your standard of operation in the world. And this is a terrifyingly powerful and consequential idea. The standard of behavior you are willing to walk past without comment or action is the standard you have implicitly declared that you are willing to accept. This is true when you are leading others, but it is absolute and fundamental when you are leading yourself. You cannot demand excellence from your team if you are tolerating mediocrity in your own conduct. The two positions are logically and psychologically incompatible. If you, as the leader, accept your own excuses for being unprepared, for missing a deadline, for failing to follow up, you have, in that single act, undermined every speech you will ever give about accountability. You have created a crack in the foundation of your own authority, and that crack will widen into a chasm. The mirror is the place where you audit your own standards. It is where you ask, what did I let slide yesterday that I know deep down was important? Where did I tell myself, that's good enough, when I knew it wasn't? Where did I avoid a difficult truth because the confrontation would have been uncomfortable? This is not about perfectionism, it is about integrity, which again means a state of being whole and undivided. A leader who is divided against themselves, who holds a public standard and a private compromise, generates an environment of cynicism and silent contempt. People are exquisitely attuned to hypocrisy. They may not be able to articulate it, but they feel it. They sense the disjunction between your words and your actions. Conversely, when you hold yourself to an almost impossibly high standard in the mirror, you radiate a kind of unshakable credibility. Your team may not always like the difficulty you demand, but they will respect the fact that you demand it first and most fiercely from yourself. Your personal standard becomes the cultural ceiling, and all of this, the accountability, the self-awareness, the internal narrative, the relentless standard, is incredibly demanding. It is a weight. There will be days, perhaps many of them, when you are exhausted, disillusioned, and ready to concede. The passion that launched the venture has faded into the grinding reality of execution. This is the moment where mediocre leaders falter because they seek to rekindle their fire from an external source, from a new motivational video, from press clippings, from the applause of a crowd. But that is like trying to light a candle with another candle. It provides a fleeting glow, but no enduring flame. The only place you can reliably return to for that genuine, renewable source of purpose is the same place this entire journey began, the mirror. That reflective glass becomes more than an accountability partner. It becomes a sacred space for recollection. You look into your own eyes and you ask the most fundamental question, why? Why did I start this? Who did I promise myself I would become? What is the meaning that makes this struggle worthwhile? You are not seeking a simple answer, but a reconnection with the foundational values that gave birth to your ambition in the first place. This is a confrontation with your deepest self. Stripped of the ego and the titles and the external validation, it is in this quiet, private reckoning that you remember the person you were before the world gave you its approval or its criticism. You realign your actions with that core identity. You are not looking for a pat on the back, you are looking for the bedrock. You are reminding yourself of the cause for which you are willing to endure the inevitable suffering and disappointment that accompanies any meaningful endeavor. This is how you prevent your leadership from becoming a hollow performance. This is how you ensure it remains an authentic expression of your deepest values. So, let's be perfectly clear. Leadership is not a title bestowed upon you, it is a character built within you. It is not about directing others, but about mastering yourself first. The mirror is not a piece of glass. It is the one tool that grants you the radical honesty to hold yourself accountable, the profound self-awareness to know your true capacity, the discipline to author a courageous internal narrative, the integrity to set an unimpeachable standard, and the wisdom to reconnect with the deep, sustaining why that makes the entire difficult journey not just possible, but meaningful. Stop looking for answers in boardrooms, in strategy books, or in the eyes of your followers. The transformation you seek, the leader you aspire to become, it does not start out there. It starts and ends with the unwavering commitment you make to the person you see reflected back at you every single day. That is where real power lies. That is where true leadership is born. Now, go look in the mirror and begin.